All right. Welcome to another episode of MNPR Sound Check. Today we are with Mike Ross.
Hey,
How are you
man.
doing, man?
Yeah, good. Nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you for having us. Let's talk about gear. Yeah. Can you talk about this guitar that you're using?
This is my guitar. It's a 1988.
88.
Yeah,
Ooh.
1988 335 dot. It's a right-handed guitar that somebody else converted to left-handed, so you can see the little holes there. Yeah. I modified it a bit. The Bigsby isn't stock. It would have had a Nashville bridge, but I put an ABR1 in. Silver knobs. I tried to make it look more 60s. It's a 59 spec with the dots.
Okay.
But these are more 60s appointments, you know, and these are some old, like late 80s Duncan 59s.
Oh, okay.
So the original pickups were a bit,
Okay.
I wanted something with a bit more
huge,
character.
man.
Yeah, it's a big
huge,
sound.
Yeah.
You know, when you get it right, I don't need the amp to be very loud. It just comes alive. That's why I like the semis, because it just, you know, like a third thing happens. You know, there's the guitar,
interaction,
and the amp, and then there's the other thing, and that's what I go after.
Nice. Do you have any problems with feedback?
Well, running? I mean, define problems. I mean, I think I have some. I have some
like
feedback solution.
Uncomfortable.
That's not a problem.
Not a problem at all.
I have problems dropping my plectrum sometimes.
Yeah, but like that's why you got spares. Yeah. Cool. Do you bring another guitar for the tour?
I have. Yeah, this is because we're opening for Sons of Liberty. I just bring a small rig.
Okay.
You know, so normally there's about 5 guitars. I use lots of tunings.
Why not? Yeah.
If this would stay in tune, I'd play it the whole time. This is in drop D at the moment.
D.
So tonight I will start in standard and I'll retune to drop D on this. If it was one of my shows, I'd have my other 335 in standard. Or sometimes Les Pauls, but mostly 335.
Okay.
I have the SG as well, which is this is different tunings, and I would use this for slide.
Okay.
So this is an SG Junior, like 10, 12 years old, and have to plug it in.
I love the straps, mate.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm a hippie, born too late. Born too late. So, yeah, this is in like a variation of an open E tuning.
Okay.
But instead of having a major third, I just put another B.
Okay.
So it's E, B, E, B, B, E. Supposed to
eventually.
It's cold and it's cold on the boat.
It's impressive how the weather they changed the intonation.
I think it's just cold, you know, and it'll get warmed up.
Yeah.
So it's great. You get like almost like Dadgad, you know. You get So because we don't have another lead instrument, like I'm all the melodies, this or this, and both. So I like to have an easy life. If you put the major third in for this, then I have to, if I want to change to a different chord, I have to think a bit harder. If it's just one, it's just roots and, you know, E's and B's, basically. And then, so tonight, this will, like Moose from the Sons of Liberty's been helping me changing guitars for me. I should have brought 3, really, because I have a couple of songs in this tuning and then one in G tuning as well. G. So this needs to go to G partway through the set. So Moose is going to do that for me.
Nice, man.
I love Juniors. I think they're wonderful. You know, I love a single pickup guitar.
Piece of rock and roll. Well, straightforward and.
But you know, there's something about this strap, which is wrong. There's something about the lack of options. If you so you can hear it. That's the tone down low. Like, you wouldn't really do that if you had a neck pickup.
Exactly.
You just flip, you know. But having this here, and because it's very bright, and I put a good cap in there, you can get a wah. It's good with the delay. Like. It's fun, man. But my amp and everything's just set so that it's dirty when it's loud. So you get a really sweet sound, you know, or like bright and clean.
That you lose a lot of like volume, like it's kind of like cleaning.
Oh no,
yeah, it's so cool.
Well, I mean, that's how you do it, right?
Like they used to do it.
That's how
like,
you do it. Yeah. I mean, this is a cheat, you know. I mean, we can talk about. Is it time to talk about
let's do it.
So this is a Soldano Astrojet, which is a 16-watt combo.
16
watt, yeah.
I bet it was 20, but anyway. 16.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, you might be right. No, I think it's 16.
Like I was just guessing because we said like.
Well, it's low. It's low wattage.
It's low watt.
So Soldanos are they're based on Plexi Marshalls that are modded, so they have master volumes.
Okay.
And more gain really. I don't really use the gain. You see that the gain's on like 7 here.
7.
But also I put they have a 12 AX7 tube to get lots of gain. I put the lower gain tube in 12AY so they get more headroom.
Okay.
And then I just turn this. Actually, it's
on 7.
It's last night it was on 8 and 8.
8 and 8. Oh.
This room is a bit more crispy, so I just backed it up a bit.
Another one.
I go through those a lot. and I love it. For this, it's great. It goes in that flight case. It's off easy. On my shows, I would have a Fender Princeton as well with a 12-inch speaker. Okay. So I put a 12 in and run them together, not in stereo, just sunned, phase corrected. Okay. And then if it was a bigger show again, an extra 212 in each. So so you get Soldano Fender.
Okay, cool.
And it just kind of merges together. The reverb's better in the Princeton. This reverb's fine. It's okay. The Fender reverb is great.
It is.
Blew me. So this is fine for that.
Are you using your drive from?
It's on the amp, yeah. So like it's 7 here.
7. Yeah,
I mean, if we go right down, set this right up, then it takes the master volume out of the circuit. Okay. And it becomes like an 18-watt treble and bass Marshall design. So I just may switch to the 335.
Yeah.
Then I can play more than one chord. So that's just kind of bright. Like a vintage amp, 60s amp. And then as you bring it up, it would be like turning a 60s amp up so it starts to bright by itself. But if I bring that back down to 7, it's just a little more controlled. Soundman's happier.
Yeah.
But I like the directness on a stage like this in a room, you can see, like I like to keep it fairly small, even on a big stage. It doesn't need all that wattage, not when you have thousands of watts.
Yeah, as long as you feel comfortable with your...
Well, as long as I can do that.
There's that interaction.
It's just that, and it's maybe just a little... As long as I can get that when I need it, I'm happy.
Because sometimes people are like, oh, why you play so loud? Yeah, it's just good.
I mean,
Why or
it's nice, right? It's not if you're AC/DC and you have you know
Like
9 Marshalls and 18 speaker cabinets and a stage this large, then I'm down with it. I'm down with it. But you know, I want the sound to be good everywhere I play. If I bring 2 100-watt Marshalls and 4 cabs in here, nobody's going to get a good sound.
People could be like that.
Yeah, they'll just leave.
Just leave. Cool. Let's talk about pedals.
Yeah.
So from the guitar,
it goes over here.
Yeah.
So it starts on the left foot. I have a pedal board for each foot.
Okay.
Because I like
Why not?
I like symmetry. So it goes to the wah, and the wah is a BMF. My friend Scott makes these. I contacted him because I saw Mark Ford play, who's one of my favorite players, and he had a BMF wah and a BMF fuzz, and I messaged Scott. I said, "Can I buy one of your wahs?" And then so I ordered the wah, and then we got to be Facebook friends, and then he was posting pictures of British biscuits. He likes obscure. He's a Britophile, you know, like Anglophile.
Anglophile.
In America, he lives in California. So I sent him a box of biscuits, and we became really good buddies.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So he sent me this wah. So
That's
it's
a great story.
yeah. He said I sent him one of my CDs, and he's like, "Is this your music?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't think you're going to be paying for pedals for a while."
Ooh,
the box of biscuits and the good tone.
Boom.
We're like, you know, but I paid for the wah first, and it's just like like his version of a classic Clyde McCoy Vox. It's got a custom inductor that he spec'd out, but it's kind of like a stack of dimes. The early Vox Clyde McCoy inductor. Yep. It's really human.
Perfect.
You know, really great. And barely need to move it, and just good things come out. You know,
that's great.
And actually, I barely use it in this. One guitar playing a wah, you lose the bottom end. Yeah. You know, so if I'm using it, it's usually to go. Like slower as a kind of filter effect rather than the obvious chocka chocka, you know. But it's great. And then a volume pedal, which is linked to the tuner, so I can tune with it turned down. But I use the volume for and more with the other effects. You know? I get lost in those. So that's I use that occasionally. Sometimes this on the Junior, I'd probably use the guitar volume. The volume. But here, singing, playing, it's sometimes it's good to have a. Yeah, it's like an escape lane, you know. And then it goes over to the other side, and it comes in here. Okay. This is a Bright Onions switching unit, so there's just loads of loops. So true bypass switcher. It has FET switching switches, so they're silent switches. You get one pop, and then it usually goes after that. Oh, stage is a bit noisy tonight, but they're pretty quiet. You know, like if you switch one of these on, that's a traditional like Carling switch. These ones, you just get the noise of the pedal. Pretty quiet. So first one's an Octaver. That's a Foxrox Octron. Okay. I think it's the Octron 3, but I've had it modified. So it does a low octave. You go. But usually that's the bypass switch. But I had it modified so you can switch it to the high octave. And it sounds, if you take the tone off, then you lose the original one, so it's more pronounced. that. Mostly just set to a low octave riff.
So you're using the switcher.
Yep. So
you're adding pedals.
That's
yeah?
right.
So,
So
like,
you see here, there's a send and return, which feeds into this pedal.
Yeah.
On this switch, rather, for the octaver. Here, I actually have 2 pedals in the loop, but I would prime it. I'd prime it separately. So here, the MXR, I have an Auto Wah, which is probably not switched on. Cool, you know, or the Phase 90. Usually the Phase 90 is on.
It's a classic, yeah. It's a classic.
Yeah, I avoided it for a long time because it's such an obvious vintage effect. But the reason it's obvious is because it's the best one.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're both mid-70s ones, those original.
Nice.
I have lots of old pedals too. I collect real pedal. Well, I have lots of everything actually, but I'm a big pedal junkie. And everything else is recent, but those two are old. Yeah. Just reset that so I don't forget later. Then the fuzz,
BMF.
It's a BMF. That's the BMF Aries, which is a ram's head big muff.
Okay.
So, and then I just got that actually. I've been waiting for him to build them for a long time because he does them in batches. So I've been asking for him for a couple of years. Yeah. And then depending on what's on after it, it changes quite a lot.
Okay.
So there's, you know. But obviously Big Muff, you know, like Siamese Dream. But if I put a drive on after it, or the Leslie on, which we'll get to, then it can change your character quite a lot, which is kind of a drag because I'd rather it stayed the same.
Stay the same.
But he builds these pedals that they're alive. That's the thing. They're so, you know, if you get a mass manufactured pedal, they're built to such wide tolerance, you know. But this stuff's really dialed in pedal by pedal. So depending on which germaniums he's using at the time, it adjusts the circuit, you know. So it's cool. So that's that. Then I have one of these Shaffer Boosts, which is like the Angus Young.
Okay.
You know, so it's the 70s wireless systems. I don't really like wireless systems personally, but in the 70s, the Shaffer had this unit, and like Metallica are using them again now, and Pink Floyd, and Angus has got them in his rig again. But what it was is this was the preamp circuit from the wireless system, because the 70s wireless systems, you can imagine, they're not great. You lose a lot of signal. So he designed this boost at the back to put the level back in, because it's an absolutely fantastic solo boost. And Angus started using it on the Power Ridge album, and you use it for a few years, you know. So again, can be reactive depending on what's going on around it. Actually works a little better if there's a bit less gain on the amp, but you know, you do what you do. Yeah. So maybe how I would adjust for that is to maybe roll these back. Yeah, quite often I'm playing on 8 and 8.
8/8.
Just back, back. Really good, you know. It's really musical, and barely on there. There's a lot more gain. If you crank that more, I don't play Angus. I don't play Angus, but it's really easy to play with those things on. That's the boost, and then I have another BMF, which is
El Jefe.
The El Jefe, which is the governor.
Oh, the governor.
So no, I tell a lie. It's the Blues Breaker.
The
Blues Breaker circuit. And what I have that set to, and I don't use it so much with these guitars, but if I brought a telly, to sometimes depending on what the set is, I might have a telly, and I would leave that on with the telly just to bring the levels up because these are quite loud.
Loud.
But sometimes I would use it with a 335, like for a chorus, maybe if I'm flat out. Depends on how loud the drummer is.
Yeah.
You know. So barely notice the difference unless you're already flat out and you need somewhere else to go.
Yeah. But it's
Just
that
a little
interaction
bit.
of
Yeah.
like, you feel here.
And sometimes just helps lean it in, you know. Then it's delay. How much tape have we got in this camera?
Yeah, let's go.
That's how old-fashioned I am. I love this pedal, the Supa-Puss delay pedal.
Okay.
I've used Echoplexes, full tone, TTEs and STEs or whatever they call them, like original EP2s, EP3s, copycats. And I always come back to this. Look, if I could have like a tech behind there that was servicing and maybe have like 3 Echoplexes like Rich Robinson does, or then okay. But for this, it's wonderful, and it also has a tap tempo. So you can, if you use the knob to set it, then it's a 900 millisecond analog delay. It's really, really tapey, and it slaps, you know. It's fun, lots of fun. But if you tap the tempo, it does. It's like 3 seconds or something crazy.
Really?
It does, yeah. And when you tap the tempo, you know, you can't tell. It's the same. It's a switch to a digital circuit now.
Oh, okay.
But we're huge. George Trips designs wonderful pedals. You know, he designed the carbon copy, amongst other things, and so he knows his delays. So I trust him. The light is too bright.
So you
I have
put
a bit of gaffer tape over it because
like,
when that's on, I can't see, man. So that's that, and it has you can do all of the different split time signature things with it, but I just
do you use it by the tap?
I use the tap quite a lot, and you see that I actually put an MXR knob on it.
Yep.
For the delay time, because I like to have it on the analog and then change it manually. So, and I have to do this like a fairy when I do it in the balancing. So I use that a lot. I'm not like a traditional put a bit of solo on, put a bit of delay on to fatten out the solo kind of a guy. I'm more put the delay on and let's go on a little journey.
Okay.
You know?
See what it takes us.
Yeah. I'm not like that kind of layered, you know, like 80s onwards guitar sound kind of thing. No, I'm very 70s in my approach, you know. I watched there was a John Squire. You know, no, not John Squire, sorry. Guy from the Smiths, Johnny Marr.
Johnny Marrs.
I watched his thing recently. He talked, I really related to what he was saying when he said he plays into the delay. And I really identify with that. Most not driven. Then tremolo.
Beautiful.
In theory, a really simple effect, but to get one that I like the sound of is
so beautiful.
For years and years, I would only use Fender Silverface amps, like Jules Showmans and Twins,
because
and
they
things.
have.
And I really like the sound of that tremolo, so I'm used to again playing into the tempo of it. You know, I use it. Use the Bigsby, you see. Now we're out of tune.
And you're using the
Surfy. Yeah, good, really good.
Uh-huh.
I also have their reverb tank, which is a spring reverb thing. So if I'm using, I have a bigger Soldano head.
Okay.
If I use that, sometimes I put the Surfy in. But the tremolo is really great. The only criticism I had about it was that it's louder than bypass. So I had James, who builds the Bright Onion pedals, he built me a return volume.
Oh, that's really
so
cool.
like a little passive volume return. The Supa-Puss is also louder than bypass on an amp with a master volume. If I use the Princeton, you don't need it. Use the Soldano and you
really?
do. Yeah.
Wow.
It's the tone gods. They don't like master volumes, you know. So I have to dial it off a little bit here when I'm playing with this rig. And then then it can go. I can show you. Watch. It's pretty obvious.
This is full on. Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a big boost. So I like to pull that back. Tremolo. So if I use the Fender amp, then I maybe put the Surfy vibrato in there instead, which has the magnetone sound. So that's more pitch than just stop start. And then last but not least is the Lex, the Strymon.
The Lex.
And I love that. I use that a lot in choruses and things. I have a song we will play tonight. Ran through here. It's called, and the chorus will go. You bring it up and down like an organ player would, you know. So that's great. And then actually that is louder. I just picked up that one. That's a version 2. For years, I had the version 1, and the bypass was fine. On the version 2, the bypass is returning louder. The effect is returning louder. You can't turn it down. So until I next go and see James, I put a little passive box in here.
Oh, just to.
Yeah, so that just nudges it back by like 1. Like 1 on here just brings it back in. And then finishing everything off, that unit at the back is another BMF, which is I asked him to build that for me. I actually bought a Univibe from Scott.
Wow.
Before they were the money they are today. They were still quite a lot of money.
The original one?
Yeah, 60s one. He bought 3 and he was circuit tracing them for his own for his own version of the Univibe, which he brought out later. But he sold me one of the ones he'd had, and I had a really, it's quite a used effect, the Univibe. You know, I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
But what I was really impressed with is, I don't know if you've ever used the Univibe, but when it goes to cancel, it switches the modulation out of the circuit, but the preamp is still in.
There.
And like the Shaffer, or the lots of people now use the Echoplex boosts and things. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So and what I heard is everything just sounded a little bit more like Jimi Hendrix. Everything sounded a little bit more psychedelic, even with different rigs and different songs and everything. So I said, because he'd already done the circuit traces, could you build me just the preamp? Yeah. And because he's such a stickler for doing things properly, he refused to modify it. I said, because he sent me that one. No, I picked it up when I was in the States, and I picked it up from him. And then when I got it home, and I'm like, dude, it's a little bit louder than when it's on bypass, which is obviously one of my things, right? And he went, that's how it is, man. That's what the Univibe does. So what it actually also does, and you'll hear it because I'll turn it off now, is it's got a little bit of extra bass as well. But you can just hear there's just something strange happening now on the trebles. You know, oh, the Leslie's still in there. Just this like some undefinable little quality, but really it's nice to have it there because what it does is you can really drive all of these into that, and then it just kind of conditions everything, like a bit like a buffer, but at the back end of the board. And that's it, man. Just I also have a little Spaceman.
Oh, that's the important part of the sound. Yeah.
That's Clovis. Yeah, Clovis. One of my albums, well, I have two albums, Clovis Limit 1 and 2.
Okay.
First one is like Americana. Second one is like spacey rock. That's Clovis.
Okay.
And then because this is important for me as well. My little
the
switch.
lights.
Yeah. And last but not least, a little clock so that I don't overrun on support slots.
Otherwise,
that's it. Career over, man.
Man, thank you so much for having us.
It's a pleasure. It's been a joy to talk about.
It's really cool. Yeah, talking about gear and amps and stuff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, man.
Man, thank you.
I hope you enjoy the show.
Oh yeah, I'm very looking forward to this. Guys, thank you very much. And I'll catch you on the next episode. See you. Man,
Where are you from, man?
I was born in Brazil.